Reacting live to a completely new Overwatch hero concept. This is not a rework. This is a completely new hero design and idea. I'm very excited about this. I haven't done one of these yet. I've not seen it before. If you want to send me your own, join my Discord. I'll maybe react to it on stream. So, okay, this one being sent in it says Old Project Titan McLeod. My concept using the limited info. So I guess this is based off of one of the characters from Titan that was probably scrapped. You know, Titan was scrapped. So this character probably didn't make it all the way to Overwatch. And I've never heard of this actually. And I'm pretty like in the know about some of these kind of things, or at least like hearing about them. So this is interesting. I'm excited to see this. So background. I think he'd live in Glasgow, Scotland. Glasgow? I think it's Glasgow. Be a member of Overwatch, or maybe even the Wayfinders, since I see him as this lover of the past similar to Venture, just less archaeology and more written history. That's cool. I like the idea of adding like a whole new faction, like a new group. Like, I'd like to see somebody in Kiri's gang, maybe. What are they called? The yokai, right? That'd be cool. Like another person, another Wayfinder would be great. Although we just got Venture, but you know, no problem there. So that's cool. I like that idea. Passives. They're DPS. Their other passive is parry this. When parry reaches full meter and goes down, a movement buff is given for getaway opportunities or hyper aggressive engages. So I guess parry is one of the abilities. Oh, I see it down there. So we'll get to that later. So we'll ignore that for right now. 275 HP, so a little on the bulkier side, with 50 being armor, which is really interesting. Armor on DPS is a very scary thing to give DPS. So we'll have to see how that works and see what the actual kit is. So primary is an SMG. He has a more modern, for them, old school SMG. Oh, like a today SMG maybe. Gives into the whole taking inspiration from the past things. I think he'd have, and to give him a ranged option. So it sounds like he's probably going to be mostly close range. Slightly slower than Sombra's SMG overall, but slightly higher damage. Okay, so rapid fire. Damage over time more so than burst, at least in the SMG part or the primary fire. Secondary, so this is going to be on the mouse too. Parry, similar to Genji's deflect, but instead of deflecting all damage for a certain amount of time, McLeod can deflect a set amount of damage, but his is indefinite when not being shot. It's a resource meter. Okay. When full parry ends and enters a 6-second cooldown. When put away prematurely, 3-second cooldown. Okay. Uses the claymore on his back. Oh, so he has a claymore too. So he's got an SMG and he's got a claymore, and he pulls the claymore out to parry. Is it a deflect or is it just a mitigation tool? It says deflect, so okay. I don't know if I would just make an ability that is deflect but resource meter deflect. I think especially abilities should be as unique as possible. I feel like there should be some other thing here. Oh, I know that like when the parry meter reaches full meter and goes down, a movement buff is given away. It is given for getaway opportunities or hyper aggressive plays. So that's pretty cool. Like, you parry something and then you get like a movement option. That's fun, right? I actually think now that I've said that out loud, that's the fun thing about this, right? I think this doesn't need to be a deflect if this is the case, right? If you parry enough damage, right? Like maybe like a lower threshold than like a Doomfist block. If you parry it, which it's timing based, right? Then you get an opportunity like this. I think that'd be really cool. To be honest with you, I don't know if I like the meter idea for a parry kind of thing. I think it should just be a cooldown. And in fact, you say like when the parry meter when he reaches full meter and goes down. So I can't. Is it like you parry enough damage to get meter, and then you get the thing? Because I think it should just be like that. Like you parry enough damage and then you get the buff, right? Um, resource rate full rate ends and enters 6. I do like the idea of like the resource if it ends all the way. Like if we're working on the idea it has resource, if it ends all the way it has a longer cooldown. But when you put it away early, it has a 3-second cooldown. That's perfectly fine, and that's like like for an ability like this, which is really like your self-sustain kind of tool. Those are long. Those are long for a resource type of ability. So yeah, it's a cool idea. I really like this. I think it doesn't really need to have deflect. And I'm not too keen on the idea of it being a resource just because like you're calling it a parry, right? But that's cool. Ability 1, Stampede. Oh, sorry. Before I talk about this, a parry in my mind also it's like it's damage that you know is going to happen. So you can't really just parry spam, right? I feel like that should be what you're looking for, right? That's why I don't really like the resource idea. I feel like you shouldn't be able to parry spam. It should be much more like you parry certain things, right? You parry bionades and you parry abilities that you think are going to come out, right? Like a venture jumps you and you parry the drill dash or something like that. I feel like that's a lot more interesting than just like it being kind of like a block, a second block, right? But that's like a lot of skill in there. And like this is not CC immune, so you can't just like parry shatter or stuff like that, or Malga run or stuff, which could be interesting in theory if it wasn't resource and it didn't deflect. If you wanted to give it like just if you get the parry correct, then the ability that you parried wouldn't hit you. That would be cool. But that's not what this is. So I'm just kind of building off of the idea. Ability 1, Stampede. Similar to Soldiers, gives a movement speed boost, but movement control isn't the best because of the clunky antique armor. Oh, so it's like a run, but you don't have full movement, right? When charging into enemies, given slight knockback, just enough to move them to get through doorways. Okay, all right. Moderate cooldown, 6 to 8 seconds. Oh, so it's like it's a cooldown ability. So here we go. You have like a movement speed burst for however much time, but your movement is a little more limited. At least like charging, like a Reinhardt charge, right? But you can move, like you can do your abilities, right? So you could in theory, that'd be really cool. You could in theory stampede in, like get some damage, parry, the stampede ends, but you have the movement boost from the parry, right? And then you hit them and leave, right? That could be really cool. Or you parry and you speed in, and then you get them and you stampede out. That's also cool. I like this. And he's got some armor, but he doesn't have like damage reduction, so that's like you have to be really mindful of it. It's a lot more for repositioning probably. Ability 2, only 1. Unsheath his claymore and holds it back ready to strike. When button is released, McLeod swings in a Rhine-type arc swing with slightly less range. Deals decent burst damage, moderate cooldown, maybe 8 second cooldown range. Is this something that you can charge, like variable damage? Because I think that'd be fun. And I think variable damage like that's like a lot of interesting, especially like a character like, you know, this flex DPS that's going to be getting in and pretty like, what's it called? Susceptible, you know? You have to make the call if you have enough time to swing the whole thing to get more damage, or is it more viable to do a quick swing with less damage and then get out and stuff like that? I feel like that's really cool decision making, and I don't think we really have an ability like that other than like Doomfist Punch, which doesn't really count. It's not the same idea, you know. I think that's really cool. I really like that, and it's like less range than Reinhardt swing. Like you still have to get in pretty close. Yeah, I like that a lot. I totally think it should be like I think it should have a charge with it. But like, yeah, I think this is really cool. Ultimate, Valiant Heart. When activated, his HP is boosted to 350 and his sword becomes his primary. Stampede is faster, so it's an install, right? Sword swings a little faster. Movement speed is slightly increased. Similar to Genji Blade. Ult cost probably a little bit bigger. So this just lets him... It's when I think installs are not like bad ideas for ults because it just like makes them better at what they already do. Obviously it works better with their kits because It meshes really well. I think ults are probably the hardest thing to design conceptually. It's hard to figure out what a good ult should be because there are the more unique abilities. And they're kind of supposed to do more things, have more different stuff. Like, I feel like ults are the hard part. So having an install, I get it. But yeah, this is just like what it makes him tankier, faster. I assume his HP is it armor that he's gaining for the 350, or is it like temporary health? What something to think about there. His sword becomes his primary, so he doesn't have the SMG, right? So you can't just shoot your heart's content and then just like use it as a refresh for spamming. This is to get in, and maybe even to get out, right? Yeah, it's perfectly fine. I feel like it's just like he's just better at what he already does, right? That's kind of the idea. So the game plan doesn't really change, which to me, that's a little lame. Like, think about Winston install, where like his kit completely changes, but he plays differently, right? And your game plan countering Winston in Primal is different than your game plan countering regular Winston. I feel like there should be some levels with the ults, and there should be a little more of the game, a different game plan about how you deal with Valiant Heart other than just regular, right? Just like what you would actually do against McLeod instead. But yeah, that's it. I do actually like this. A lot of people put a lot of numbers and get really in depth on it, but like I like this just simple, like this is the idea, right? It's ideas, it's theory. We get to talk about it. We don't think about every single minute thing, but that also gives me some opportunities to talk about like what could make it better, what could improve, you know. But I actually really like this. I like this idea. I think the only thing that really doesn't make as much sense to me is the SMG. But I guess like the sword has a cooldown, right? So is the SMG? Is it like it's more like close range? I guess that does make sense. But I don't know. Maybe like more of a shoddy type gun would work a little more for what you're going for. That might be frustrating. I feel like the SMG is here to reduce that burst. But I think something closer range would feel better on this character. It'd feel more in tune. I get like you want to give him some range. But yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it's something that scales. Well, I don't know. I get the idea, but to me, it's the SMG is the thing that kind of like sticks out. And I know it's like you kind of talk about it with the lore aspect of like finding the old SMG, like scavenging it. So yeah, this is cool. I like this. I like this a lot. I think this is a really cool idea. And again, I don't really know anything about the Project Titan limited concept info, but more flex DPS are always fun. I think those are the characters that are the most interesting. And they're harder to balance, sure, but like pretty good, pretty fun characters. You know, like I mean, like they're gonna like McLeod here is probably gonna play like Venture, right? Like closer to Venture, and that makes sense because they're both Wayfinders, and they kind of have that idea, similar identity. So I think that's a really cool, interesting like addition to make them. Like the Wayfinders kind of have a certain niche about what they do. It's kind of like how all the Aussies, they all have like knockback abilities in some form or fashion, stuff like that, right? That's kind of keeping the consistency of characters in Overwatch. I really like. I think that's a really cool idea. So yeah, thank you so much for sending this in. And once again, if you have your own character ideas or rework ideas or hot takes, link to my Discord is down below. Please feel free to send me some. I may react to them on stream. I did film this live on my Twitch. That's going to be twitch.tv/Lane Hemingway. I try to do a discussion every single time I go live, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And of course, if you wouldn't mind doing all that good YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe. It does really help me out at the end of the day. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.